Corky Condon, whom many of you know, and if you don't know her, you saw her on that video that opened the program tonight, used to talk about the magic of the wall, and that's an example of it right there. Our keynote speaker tonight, this next one should be kind of interesting, the introduction. Our keynote speaker is General Robert Worley. And General Worley is one of us. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate way to have him introduced than to let his sisters fight it out and decide who gets to do the honors. So here's Vicki Hall to introduce her brother, General Robert Worley.
Well, it's a good way to start it up. Robert Franklin Worley had 4 daughters and a son. Tony emailed me asking me which of the siblings would like the honor of introducing our brother at this evening's banquet. We, the Worley girls, discussed it and decided that I would be the least likely to embarrass him. That remains to be seen. You know, the sisters never thought we needed a baby boy in our family. But Mom and Dad had other ideas, and our dad especially wanted a son. My sister Dana vividly remembers how happy Daddy was spreading the news that he finally had a boy. We tease our baby brother about being spoiled, but he is probably the least spoiled of all of us. Rob and I were the little kids. We were the ones who had to sit in the way back of the station wagon on our family trips. And we were the ones that were still young enough to be living at home when the news about our daddy's death came. Our brother has grown up well, in spite of the influence of his 4 sisters. And even though he only had Daddy's example for 12 years, Rob learned from him how to be a man of character and integrity. He was commissioned through the U.S. Air Force Academy in 1978, married his junior high school sweetheart, Lori, and has had a very successful career serving our country. Officially, his title is Director of Programs, Deputy Chief of Staff for Strategic Plans and Programs, Headquarters, U.S. Air Force. I asked him what kind of information he might want me to say about him, and he sent me a long list of accomplishments. But the most important things I think he wants you to know about him, and you won't read these in the bio, in the program book, are the following, and I quote from his email to me. Tell them I am the best looking and smartest of the offspring of my parents. And Mom always loved me best. And I like bananas and tacos, although not necessarily at the same time. We comment all the time about how proud our dad must be of all of his children. But we know that he is especially proud of his son, Major General Robert M. Worley. He is truly one of the good ones, and I'm honored to introduce him to you. Rob.
I can't even believe it was true. Well, I had written a little bit about how I was going to thank Vicki, but I do want to thank you, though, Vicki, because you got the short straw and you did a great job. That one part. I don't think I've ever had the honor of being introduced by one of my sisters at any particular function, so this is definitely a first. And I appreciate those kind of things you said about me, notwithstanding the fact I I told her that if she wasn't nice, I'd sit on her and tickle her until she was sick and get her kids. I would like to start by recognizing and thanking Mr. Tony Cordero for founding this great organization and serving it so faithfully and exceptionally over its 20 years. Would you join me in a round? The story we just heard, I'm sure, is just one of countless stories that happen, and probably a lot of them Tony doesn't even know about. The impact of that kind of connectedness is just something that just makes me so proud to even be standing up there talking with you all. I do want to offer my sincere congratulations on the 20th anniversary of Sons and Daughters in Touch. And despite that little email about being the best looking in the family, I am humbled and honored to be with you tonight. As I was preparing this speech tonight, I called a Command Chief Master Sergeant who used to work for me, who I trust his judgment implicitly, and asked him what kind of advice he would give me on the theme and the address for tonight. And he answered me with a historical anecdote. He told me the story of Julius Caesar. And I'm quoting my friend now. Julius Caesar lived a long time ago. Julius Caesar was a general. Julius Caesar made long speeches. They killed him. So with that piece of advice, I went to my most trusted advisor, my wife, and asked her the same question. And she gave me advice that she normally gives me. She says, be charming, be brief, and be seated. So I'll do my best, but I do appreciate the opportunity to share some thoughts with you on this very special evening of celebration. Indeed, as we gather for this wonderful celebration of 20 years of SDIT and its noble purpose and impact, it is interesting to note that on this day in history, in 1885, the Statue of Liberty arrived at its permanent home at Bedloes Island in New York Harbor, aboard a French frigate. A gift of friendship from the people of France to the people of the United States. The 151-tall statue was created to commemorate the centennial of the American Declaration of Independence. Designed by sculptor Frederick Barthold and officially titled, something I didn't know, Liberty Enlightening the World. The Statue of Liberty has symbolized freedom and democracy to the nation and to the world for 125 years. I just thought it a fitting circumstance that the anniversary of the U.S. receiving this statue, emblematic of freedom, would coincide with a much more young organization, with the anniversary of Sons and Daughters in Touch, whose members know in the most personal way possible the sacrifice and service required to defend freedom and the democratic ideals on which our nation was founded. Tomorrow, Father's Day, will be the 42nd Father's Day that me and my sisters will spend without our dad. Sadly, neither of my 2 children, nor any of my 4 sisters' 10 children, had the chance to experience the joy of knowing their grandfather. An extraordinary fighter pilot, officer, father, and a World War II and Vietnam veteran. You see, my dad, Robert Franklin Worley, was killed in action in Vietnam on July 23, 1968, when ground fire hit his RF-4 fighter reconnaissance aircraft. He was flying just between the border of North and South Vietnam when his aircraft was hit. After flying a few minutes and trying to recover back to base, it was clear that the airplane was becoming unflyable.